So, and if that example, Solomon, didn't really convince you, or like, well, it's a Disney movie, it's feel good. Okay. Well, Solomon, let me ask you this. Let me see if you like films, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. What are your favorite movies? Top
Oh,
3 of all time.
oh wow, put me on the spot. Well, they're all gonna be sci-fi probably.
Okay, and that's good.
Starship Troopers, believe it or not, is
Okay.
one of my favorites. And I love all of the Indiana Jones type movies too,
Okay.
like action and adventure. So
Mhm.
I couldn't name any other. Starship Troopers is just my number one. I
Okay.
can just give you that one.
Okay, nice. Have you ever seen any sports movies?
Yeah, lots
Okay.
of them.
Remember the Titans? I'm assuming you've seen it.
Yeah, yeah. I saw Remember the Titans.
Okay.
I've seen the Mighty Ducks, those types of movies. And I saw the one about the football player at Notre Dame who was too small. Rudy, I think. Yeah, Rudy, right?
Of
Uh,
course I do.
yeah.
Well, okay. Let's get into that one actually. Rudy. Rudy Rudiger. Starring Sean Astin. Also, other great actors. John Favreau was also in the movie. A very young Vince Vaughn was in the movie. The actor that played the priest in The Exorcist was actually one of the coach.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, that was him actually. And one of my top 5 movies of all time. When it comes to my lists, if you guys want to know about my list about favorite movies, wrestlers, wrestling matches, any type of whatever my favorites, comment down below and let me know what you guys want to see. Because you guys, like Solomon said right when I started this, he said your fans are gonna choose the way that your podcast goes. And I can only steer this boat for so long, guys. I got endless ideas, but at the same time, I want to feed you guys as well as the fans. You guys are the ones making this happen. You guys are the ones that are not only just driving me, but I love the interaction that I've been getting on YouTube. I've gotten some positive comments. I'm that guy that comments on the podcast guys that I follow. Chris Van Vliet being one of them. Suplex, shout out. Denise Salcido, who commented on one of my comments back. Great love, by the way. I love how you review AEW shows and everything. Such an enthusiastic podcast journalist. Anything that you do is awesome. I appreciate the love. But you guys are the ones that are gonna make this happen and go the way you guys want it to go. If you guys want to know anything about my favorites, if you guys want me to review certain pay per view, review a certain wrestler, what I think about a certain storyline, let me know. Comment down, subscribe. The Cutting Room Podcast on YouTube. Got business cards coming, starting up my Instagram very soon. But M if you wanna get into this, get all in with the Cutting Room Podcast, and I'll show you guys a lot great of ideas, videos that I wanna do. But, we'll get back into Rudy. So, okay, Rudy Rudiger. I don't, you know what's so funny? Rudy is actually on my top 5 most influential movies of my life, because I can't recall who got the VHS and rented it, and not from Blockbuster. I'm talking about those mom and pop places.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah,
ones that you like, if you didn't have a credit card, all you needed was at least a bill or a check stub, so they know you got some income.
yeah,
So I don't know who rented it. I want to say it was probably one of my inner circle people. When I say inner circle, it's people that are in my life, who are not to be named or disclosed. But part of my inner circle, brought it home, and I remember how it made me feel, even as a kid. Um, Hearing that music, it's very that soundtrack of Rudy is very, very, iconic, especially this title called "The Final Game," which is the song played obviously in the final scene of the film.
sure.
Um, but I love Rudy, and I'll recommend it to anybody. It's a tearjerker for me, and I hope, actually I'm gonna try to talking about this movie and this scene, or these scenes that are very influential to me. Um, so Rudy Rudiger was a football player. I want to say, can't recall what city he lived in, but had every dream to go to Notre Dame. It was his favorite football team, and they watched the games every Sunday. I'm assuming, or whatever day it landed on. He told everybody all his life, "I'm playing for Notre Dame. I'm playing for Notre Dame." He had his best friend Pete, which was the reason he finally decided to chase that dream. And I guess the death of his friend Pete at the factory that they were working in triggered him to say, "You know what? It's now or nothing." And he goes and chases his dream, and finds out that not only he didn't have the grades, that's also the reason he couldn't attend initially, but a priest believed in him and said, "Okay, Mr. Rudiger, I'm gonna give you one semester. You give me straight A's, and I'll pay for another one." It's a
Mm.
compromise that he had with one of the priests, and he applied every single time he could, but Notre Dame didn't accept senior transfer, so he only had till his junior year. At the very last time you could attempt to apply, that's when he got the acceptance letter. Um, and finally got on the team. He tried out at, by one of the assistant coaches. He's like, "Look, you got heart, kid. You give me that heart every single practice and never let down. You're on this team." He's like, "Wait a minute, does that mean I'm on the team?" And
Mhm.
he's like, "Yeah, kid, you're on the team." And he celebrates, and it's a great freaking moment.
I remember that just
Yeah,
from you
exactly.
saying it.
Oh, it's so awesome. And then at the time he got help from his friend D Bob, who was an attendee of Notre Dame. It was played by the great John Favreau, and some people might think John Favreau who? And it hurts for me to say this, but when people see this guy, they think Happy from the Spider-Man.
Right.
That's what they think. But John Favreau is a legend, people. Like John Favreau is he's he's the reason Marvel happened.
Yeah.
If you don't know, he's the guy that directed the original Iron Man. He also came out in the Daredevil 2003 with Ben Affleck. He came out in this great movie called Swingers. He was also had a couple episodes on the TV show Friends. He was a Phoebe, no, Monica's rich boyfriend that tried to get into like UFC as well. It was so funny, but he's just a great actor. So he found his friend D Bob, who helped him and helped him discover that he had dyslexia, and great friendship. And there we go. So it kind of reminds me of a certain wrestler. This story of the underdog, the small guy that wasn't meant to make it. Kind of reminds me of a wrestler. He goes by the name Bryan Danielson. If you don't know who Bryan Danielson is, he's also Daniel Bryan in WWE. He started training in pro wrestling in 1998, 1999, or 1997. I want to say he trained under Shawn Michaels. I don't know if you've ever heard that wrestler comment.
Yes,
Okay, so you
yes,
know Shawn
definitely.
Michaels, right?
Yeah.
When he had a couple years where he didn't wrestle, which was in the late '90s, due to a back injury that he got with the Undertaker. During that off time, not only he was into the dark stuff, he was into drinking, drugs, pills, all that stuff.
Oh.
In that time, he opened up a pro wrestling school in Texas, where he's from. He's from San Antonio. But in that class of trainees, these young up and coming guys that have all these dreams, was this young Bryan Danielson, and he trained under him in those early years. And there's this great photo of them together training together, Shawn Michaels and Bryan Danielson. It's a great photo. It's like you wouldn't expect that this little guy that's right next to Shawn Michaels is going to be one of the greatest one day. And this is why I'm comparing these two films, because these two guys were the two underdogs, the two small guys that weren't supposed to make it. Because Bryan Danielson didn't come up through WWE initially. He came up through this company called Ring of Honor, which I had mentioned earlier in this podcast. Ring of Honor was an indie company that had a little bit of backing, had a little bit of income. It came after the end of WCW. It was kind of like the independence answers to an alternative for WWE. And what I mean that is because WWE was also always meant to be the land of the giants. It had The Rock, Stone Cold, Triple H. In that time where I'm talking about 2000, 2001. Um, and this company started and signed this guy, Bryan Danielson, and he was known as the American Dragon. And it's so funny that these two characters, also American Nightmare and American Dragon, I actually didn't even link that up to right now. So
Hmm.
it's pretty funny that we're talking about this. Um, so he got a good buzz in Ring of Honor, and that's when the indie star moniker started coming out, where these guys that come from Ring of Honor or New Japan, they're making buzzes without the monster backing them, which was WWE at the time. Um, he really elevated his what can I say, his worth by himself in this indie company. And eventually in 2009, he finally got his chance and got to sign a developmental deal with WWE. Developmental deal means that he signed to NXT, which would be it's kind of like the AAA of WWE. It's like their smaller promotion, and it's for these guys who are to the not used to the way they do things on the main roster and on television, but it's for them to get their feet wet. So Danielson signed with them, but they changed his name from Bryan Danielson to Daniel Bryan, which that's something WWE has always done, at least in the old days. Thank God, not anymore. They're allowing the wrestlers to use their actual characters. Thank you, Triple H, for doing this. Jesus. But at the time, Vince McMahon was very, very hands on, and well, we're changing his name. We're taking a, you know, we're changing his whole thing, and that's something that the fans were not gonna. It wasn't gonna sit well with the fans. And there's a saying in there's a line in the movie Ready to Rumble where the bad guy is played by his name's Sinclair. He yells at the fans. He's like, "I made pro wrestling. These people are morons. They love who I tell them to love." And the fans yell back at him, "No, we make pro wrestling. We decide who are the stars. It's our reactions that they're feeding off of." Well, something that Rudy and Bryan Danielson went through together is that in Rudy's situation, his teammates who saw how much heart he had, how much shit he was willing to go through, the beatings he took, the amount of miles he was traveling just to be on the main roster. So he finally got his chance on the main roster, just like Rudy. He was finally made it to Notre Dame. He was put on the team, but he wasn't allowed to dress in any of the games. And then Rudy, you remember, like all the times he checked the team roster and seeing, am I dressing, and constant no, just like when he used to apply. He would constantly be shut down. And at some point, his teammates saw him. It was this great, like, last time he checked, and he, like, saw it, he's putting his finger on it, he's like and he walks away, and this big guy, one of the big guys on the team was like, "Saying right." And two things happened similar in these movies and storylines that happened was that Rudy's team put their jerseys on Coach, Divine's, um, table and said, I want Rudy to dress in my place, coach. He deserves it." And the coach is up against the wall and decides, "You know what? I'm dressing this man." Well, something happened to Danielson that's similar. So the WWE has this pay-per-view called the Royal Rumble. And the Royal Rumble is when you throw 30 men over the top, well, 29 men over the top rope, and one guy's left, and that man is going to go on to WrestleMania to wrestle for the title that year. Well, Danielson, it was 2014, I want to say, is when and before let me get into this picture real quick. D Bob to me is Danielson's John Cena. D-Ball was the current attendee of Notre Dame. John Cena was the number one guy, and that's his D-Ball, and the guy that believed in him because they ended up becoming really good friends. Cena actually saw what type of star Danielson could be and how much the fans reacted to him and believed in him. And they're still, I want to say, they're still friends to this day. Even dated the twin sisters, the Bella twins, together. They're both the boyfriends, so it's pretty funny. But going back to the Royal Rumble, um, at the Royal Rumble, we thought Danielson was going to go over and actually win, and instead we got Roman Reigns. And the biggest boo of fans that year, not even The Rock could save Roman Reigns because The Rock ended up going in the ring and raising up Roman's hand and be like, "This is our guy." Even The Rock was like, "Oh God, no." There's no saving this moment. So the fans started to rebel, and what started was the yes movement. And the yes movement is when the fans chant yes, 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 yes at shows, and that signals that they agree with what's going on. But it stems from Danielson because they wanted Danielson to go over. That was the guy that they wanted. That was their Rudy at that moment in that time. So it was forced. Uh, WWE's arm hand was forced. Vince McMahon's hand was forced to be like, you know what? I guess we're going with Danielson. So they made this whole storyline of where Danielson was trying to earn his way in his spot to the main event at WrestleMania. It was going to be against Batista and Randy Orton, two of the biggest juggernauts of that company at that time.
Bautista. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. It was towards Batista's last run. He was already. I want to say he had already done the first Guardians of the Galaxy at that time, so he was already a movie star.
Oh, okay.
But he came back. The fans were like, "No, this is not what we want." Just like Rudy's team, they're like, "No, we don't want Roman. We don't want Randy. We don't want Batista. We want Danielson. We want Rudy, Rudy, Rudy." That's it's impeccable how similar these moments are.
Yeah.
So at WrestleMania 30, it was in man, it was in oh man, where was it at? I want to say it was in Mercedes Dome in Louisiana. And yeah, and it was a triple threat match for the title, undisputed championships. And Danielson got over, and the moment where the fans, wait, is this happening? Is this gonna happen? Or is Danielson gonna win? He got the 1, 2, 3. I don't know whether he pinned Randy or he pinned Batista. Ovation, pandemonium is what they call it. Pandemonium. It was like when Shawn Michaels won the world title, and you hear Vince saying the boyhood dream has come true, and it's just a great moment. And it was equivalent to when Rudy got to run into the game, and it's when the coach was like, "Get in there." And he runs and he's running and the music's playing. His parents are in the crowd. His brother's in the crowd. D Bob is in the crowd. The janitor's in the crowd. And it's just this great moment. It's like, what do I do? And he's like, stand, stand. And, he gets that one sack. That one sack. And it's such a great moment. If you haven't seen Rudy, I'm sorry if I kill this for you. Just watch the damn movie. It's such a great moment. That last sack. And he gets it. And the music's, it's like synced with this moment. And right when he sacks him, it's this triumphant sound. It's such a great soundtrack. If you ever get a chance, that's on my gym playlist, by the way. That song. Um, Gets a sack, and his dad lifts his mom, and his brother is like emotional and deep. It's my favorite moment in this movie is when John Favreau's character is in the crowd and he's like the camera's on him and the music's playing, and he's like, "Oh, the wild man now!" Oh, it's such a great freaking film. It has to be put in the Smithsonian. I don't in or in the Hall of Fame of greatest movies. It's the greatest underdog story ever, and just like Daniel Bryan, greatest underdog story ever. And that's why, to me, pro wrestling and films go hand in hand together, is because they give you these feel good moments. These moments when you think that the odds are against him, and you're not gonna get what you want, but in the end, it does happen. And like as weird and cheesy as it sounds, Solomon, dreams do come true.
Mhm.
And it's such a great. I live for those moments, and when you're in that crowd, it's such a great feeling, and you might not even be super into wrestling, but if you ever get a chance, guys, if you ever get a chance to go to an indie show or an AEW show or a WWE show, anything, and it's just a great card, and you get those moments. It's an escape. To me, it's an escape. And that's why I'll leave you guys with that right there. That if you're not a pro wrestling fan, but you love films and you want to see something good and a great story and you get invested in it, just check out the story of Cody Rhodes and Bryan Danielson. Great examples of 2 guys that put their everything in it. But yeah, that's the topic of the day, but I'll continue with my pickup shots. My pickup shots are, little news things that's happened recently because I can't make videos all the time about this whole topics because I'm busy and I got other things going on, but I still wanna talk about it. I still wanna engage with you guys about what you think, and I want you guys to know what I think. So, the reason I'm wearing this T-shirt, WrestleMania, baby. WrestleMania 2025, WrestleMania 41 coming to Las Vegas, Nevada. Next year, it's Easter weekend, April 19th and 20th. I will be in attendance no matter what. I'm gonna be in attendance. I'm making a whole family trip. I'm going. I'm gonna be there. I will not don the mask. I will be in attendance. But so funny. I commented on Chris Van Vliet's podcast channel, and he posted the poster of WrestleMania, and I told him, you know what, putting it out in fruition. I'm putting it out there, Chris. One year we're gonna have a dual episode, me and you. God inspired me, and the reason I do this, um, I'll be there. If you want to be there, want to join me, let's do it. Let's make it happen. WrestleMania 41, baby, Las Vegas. I'm hoping The Rock is there. I hope Cody's still defending the title. I hope he has a long run. What else is coming up? AEW Double or Nothing is coming up in 2 weeks. At the end of the month, Solomon. It's gonna be, was it Labor Day weekend? It's coming up.
2 weeks? Oh,
And
not sure, I have to look it up.
yeah, it's Labor Day weekend or Memorial Day weekend. Um, it's gonna be in Vegas as well. That's weird, creepy. Um, so it's gonna be in Vegas. It's always in Vegas. It's their annual Vegas pay per view. Um, it's so funny. I was at Hooters earlier, and I was having a lunch, and I thought, like, you know, it's a good vibe to, you know, how some of these restaurants have allow fans to have groups to watch a pay per view. The
Yes.
Canelo fight just happened
Yeah, yeah.
yesterday, you know? So I thought, well, if you pay for it, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're cool with it. So I asked, "Can I speak to your manager?" And he came out, and I'm like, "Hey, so how does work if a group of people want to watch a pay-per-view a certain day?" And I figured because it's that certain weekend, they're not gonna have a busy night, or if it's on a Sunday, how packed can it be at a Hooters? And I told him, um, "I wanna watch this pay-per-view, like, how much would it be? Like, what's the package about food? How many people, minimums, and all that?" Kinda like what you do at a club.
Yeah.
And he told me, "What kind of pay-per-view? UFC?" I'm like, "No, pro wrestling." "Oh, no, yeah, we don't do that." I was like, "No way. You have no idea how much business that would bring for you. All these nerds would come in here and all your Hooters girls would be around. You have no idea how much money that would revenue for you. Like, if you were to put one of these." But it's not even being mad at it. It's just it's something that happened today. And I was like, "Wow, that sucks." Like, we're in such a pivotal time in pro wrestling. It's a great time to be a pro wrestling fan because it's promoted by all types of sports channels right now. Great things going on in pro wrestling, guys. And I love being a fan. I'm glad, proud to wear these t-shirts. I'm proud to be telling people about these great shows that are coming up. And the product is so good. And if you haven't checked out a SmackDown, check out SmackDown. Preferably you watch SmackDown. That those storylines are top notch. AEW right now is still doing what it's doing. What I talked about in my first video, and it's still not elite. We'll down the line we'll make another one. Make AEW elite again too. But I do want to make AEW. I mean WWE is entertaining again. Um, Down the line I do want to make AEW is elite again. But that's all in the hands of Tony Khan, in the hands of the story writers and all the scripts writers, whoever's in charge. It's up to the talent. Um, oh yeah, speaking of Lion King, did you see that the Mufasa trailer? Did you hear about it? The prequel?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, that's up there too. Just coming out It came out earlier this week, the Mufasa trailer. A movie that we didn't ask for nor needed. I saw the trailer. It's like the real animation, what they did with the recent Lion King. It's like the live action one.
Oh.
Yeah, so yeah, it's all right. I kind of didn't feel much for it. I'm still
S
waiting for
so you're
Logan.
saying you're not gonna go see it?
No,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, no. There's certain things move me. It takes a lot for me to move. Um, But yeah, that's what's going on, guys. And I leave you with that. We're gonna wrap it up right here. Thank you, Solomon, for joining me in today's
No
episode,
problem. Happy
third
to do it.
episode of the Cutting Room People. And hope you guys have a good weekend. Have a good week. Stay in touch and tell me what you guys want to do, what you guys want to talk about, what you want me to get into. And I'll leave it up to you guys and hope you guys comment and subscribe below for the Cutting Room Podcast with Damian King, the mass creative and mass director. And we'll wrap it up right there. And cut.